Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 146 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we recap the 2022 EHL All-Star Classic. The weekly rundown begins with a look back at the All-Star event that took place in Worcester, Massachusetts this past Sunday and Monday. It's crazy how things change from one year to the next, as the 2022 final standings were completely flipped in comparison to 2021. Further along in the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge, we reset our picks for the next 2 weeks due to many teams going on a short break for the holiday. Finally, we wrap up the episode by previewing a game apiece in the EHL and the EHLP and our What to Watch For segment. This week's episode is brought to you by Hockey Tech, the developers for the new EHL app, available now in both Apple and Google stores. And with that, let's bring in this week's E-Crew, same as last week, Jeff and Anthony. Guys, does it feel like we are halfway through the hockey season?
No.
We are.
I know. Me and Tyler were in denial the whole entire All-Star Classic weekend, which was a lot of fun to be a part of. Thank you, Neil, for having us help you guys out again with that this year. And I know we're going to dive into it, but yeah, we're still both, I'm glad both of us as play-by-play people. And now, Anthony, I put you on the spot as a play-by-play man. Are you still catching yourself in games saying, you know, here in the early going of the season, so-and-so at such and such
Yep.
points, here in the beginning of the season, because me and Tyler both did that this weekend and both like hit each other in the knees. We're like, nope, we can't say that anymore.
It's not even
hit you.
winter yet. It's still fall. It's still fall for another month.
Yes, and I think everyone always thinks of winter break as the halfway point, Christmas break, but it really isn't, because we play 46 games, and so obviously we love math on the podcast. 23 is half, so we're not really at halfway, I guess you could say. Only Terry is, because obviously we've discussed ProTech as racing to 46.
That was another great joke. I know Terry wasn't there this weekend. Everyone's like, oh yeah, ProTech's was like, ProTech's done already, right? Didn't they play 42 games already? They got 4 games left in this season.
They've played 24, right? So there's a bunch of teams. The majority of the teams are at 20 or 21. So really, I guess if you factor in playoffs too, we're at about like 45%. Is that a fair number? So but again, it feels like we just got started.
It does.
But we've already had 2 showcases, 2 league-wide showcases, the mini showcase, the mini showcase weekend, All-Star weekend in New York, and then the All-Star Class. Like, we've already had all these events.
That's 6. We're doing math on the air, baby.
Yeah. Keep the math going, Jeff. We're past
didn't you say that, Jeff? That you should never do math on air?
Yes.
Yeah.
All-Star Classic.
Yep.
That's the sports hub up here, Anthony. The 2 to 6 show. They love to say that up here on 98.5.
Because it's so true. When you listen to people, like, yeah, +2, no, -6, 3, and then people are like, what?
But to Jeff's point, we're past the halfway point of the events, because we had the December showcase, the January showcase, which includes an EHLP All-Star game, and then it's the finals. Like, that's the next event after that.
Of them all.
Yeah, the biggest showcase of them all. But you know what? We need to talk about this past weekend's event first. So let's do that now in the weekly rundown.
It's time for the E-Crew's Weekly Rundown.
The E-Show Weekly Rundown is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
Anthony, do you remember the order of how the teams finished in the All-Star Classic last season?
This is crazy.
Team Blue won the championship.
Yep.
Right. Was it Team Red who was the runner-up?
Correct.
Then Team White, then Team Gray.
Close, because Team Gray was your team, beat Team White in the consolation game.
Oh, that's right.
So technically, it went blue, red, gray, white.
Blue, red, gray, white.
Yeah.
Now read it backwards.
Oh,
White, gray,
gray,
red, blue. This is amazing. This is amazing, guys. That's exactly what happened.
So weird.
We've been talking a lot about wagons.
I'm
So
still upset.
Team White put a million W's in front of that because Team White was a wagon. Just
You
saying
guys
that.
Sick, gross, good, stinky. Any adjective you want to say.
Ew.
They didn't lose. We almost got you, Team White. Team Blue almost got you. And then Jack Lee put it through the 5-hole of Charles Antoine Julien and 29 seconds left. And that was all she wrote in that one.
I think my favorite thing about this event, though, is like seeing the players interact with their teammates on different teams is just so entertaining. And like the one shootout where gray is shooting on blue, and all of the gray shooters took it wide to chirp their teammate on the blue bench.
Yep.
One of them was like poking his stick at his teammate.
Yeah, wasn't that Jubran was giving like
Hirschberger,
McManus
maybe?
some nut, or Hirschberger was giving McManus like some
Yeah.
nuts. Then I actually thought we were gonna have a fight for a second between I think it was Caden Connors and Ronan Robinson, possibly, or no, Zorner. It was Zorner and one of the Valley defensemen. They kind of like puffed their chests, and like one of them did like a fake cross check, and I was like, "Oh, did
my
someone really
my
say
favorite
something?"
was my favorite
"Ooh."
was Alex Bove when he scored on Callum Welch. And
Oh,
then,
just pointing at the net,
yeah, he did
pointing
the
at
goal
the goal
signal,
Yeah.
pointing right at the puck, right in front of Callum.
Now, me and Tyler had no shortage of laughs, and we made sure everybody at home knew every little idiosyncrasy of guys fist pumping
And
actually
your
one
blatant homerism for Team Blue.
Yeah, I mean that's what All-Star games are about.
That's for all the coaches that call me a homer, looking at you, Mark Catron.
It's my one time a year that I'll be a homer. I go back to being neutral like you.
That was the only game that went to a shootout, though, and obviously Trevor went on the ice for the shootout. So what he does is he stands kind of on the outside of the neutral zone circle and shoots on the far end. So when he's shooting, Jeff, on like towards the front of the building there, Boschert makes the final save and Gray wins. Did you see Boschert shoot the puck off the glass?
I did.
He whips it off the glass. It goes flying past Trevor. Like Trevor's looking at his camera, and it goes just boom over here. And
what
then
was that about, though? Does he usually do that?
I think he was just like fired up for the win.
He's pumped. Oh, okay.
But then it's like dead quiet for a second. Like dead quiet for a second.
Yep.
And he looks at the ref and he's like, "Is it a 3-man shootout or a 5-man shootout?" He's like, 3. Okay, so we won. Why is nobody doing anything?
Remember, yeah, literally, there was such hesitation. Me and Tyler were like, "That's it. It's over." And everyone's just like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
That was one of the more entertaining games, though, of the bunch. I mean, they were all entertaining. That was a fun one, and I also think the championship game. I don't know. Maybe you would say differently, Jeff, because the team you picked won last year. Championship game felt like it had a lot of energy to it this year.
Yeah, no, I think it did. It was a good duel between Team White and Team Gray. And like we said, Anthony, never sell yourself short. You know, Team Gray on day one, you were not feeling so hot, but hey, you were there at the end.
Well, it's funny because for those who don't know, I put in a group text with Jefferson and Neil and some other members of the E crew because at this point in the first game, Team Gray was trailing. What was it, 2-0 after the first period, after the first half?
Yeah.
And I had said,
wasn't that bad.
I had said between last year and this year's All-Star Classic, also because Tyler Arago's on the call, and he even said, "Wow, you know, Team Gray, there's just no chemistry. They look very disjointed." So I said in this group text,
cut Anthony right at the knees.
Between the fantasy challenge, because I finished last season
4th.
I finished 4th out of 4. Between last year's All-Star Classic and the way this year was going, I said I should never be in a management position. I should never be in a position where I have to pick any sort of personnel because I just can't cut it. Like, it just never works out. And then after I say that, you know, they come back and they end up winning 2 out of their 3 games, and they go to the championship game.
Your Gray guys must have been listening to your. They must have had IFBs on.
It's the broadcaster's
heard what you say.
Yes.
See, that was my plan all along. I was just playing 8-dimensional chess, guys.
Yeah, you reversed them.
And just to cross off the elephant in the room. Picking Kyle Dan to win the MVP, he earned it. Okay.
Oh yeah, he was
everyone's is saying, well, Neil just picked him because that's who we picked on the podcast last week. But
he had 4 goals, he had 2 goals, 6 assists.
Yes. So
what did he do in the championship?
Yes, that's what everyone needs to know.
Yep.
Yes, him and Carson Whitman both at 8 points. So really, it's between the two of them. But Whitman didn't have any points in the championship game. Dan had a goal and an assist. To me, that gave him a slight edge. So for those that think that I'm cheating with my predictions, I need to cross that off right now. He earned it every step of the way.
The animal.
And that was, I'm happy with how humble he was with this interview. But when Jake asked him, like, did you do enough? Like come on, give us something. Like, I did enough. Like, challenge me to pick him. I don't know. Like, I thought that I wanted him to kind of come off a little bit stronger, but he's a humble kid, so I get it, right?
It might have been my fault too. I talked to him and Shane Paremba between periods, or actually they were off for a game, and I was having a good conversation with them. That was another fun game that we were all playing this weekend too, right? Neil was, hey, and I remember everyone on each team. I looked at Paremba, I was like, Brendan Schmidt. He was like, no, and I'm like, all right, I know you're not Rory Andrioli because you're on my team. All right, I know you're not Dan because Dan's right here. Paremba, he's like, hey, yeah, nice to meet you, man. I mean, they do the same thing to us, right? They hear our voices, recognize our voices before our faces. Because I got that from some of my guys. Oh, you're the announcer. And I was like, oh, yeah, what's going on, boys?
Anthony, Jeff was trying it with every kid that came up. Every kid.
I did.
Eddie Mulligan. No, I'm Jackson Collins. Chris Merriman. No, I'm
Jackson. Thanks for coming. Thanks for giving us your time. Yeah, right? Halecki was great. He was like, nope. And I was like, Will Halecki? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, woo, there we go, bud. I recognize that your equipment on, your number, and your name.
No,
thanks for
Jeff,
coming.
Jeff, you know what the perfect move to do, like if you don't recognize someone or if you forget their name, if you're with a friend, so let's say you're with Tyler, you introduce them to Tyler. Oh, hey, this is Tyler. And then you wait for them to say, oh, hi, like I'm Jackson Collins.
Oh.
Sometimes I've done it with Chris. Where it's like, wait, oh no, I forgot someone's name. Oh, here's my buddy Chris. And they'll say, oh, hi, like I'm Joe. And it's like, oh, okay, that's Joe. Gotcha.
You're a smart man.
He is teaching us so much today, Jeff, both on and off the
Street smarts.
Yeah, the off the air thing we talked about, Will, not family show still. So keep that out of here. Something about you youngins and your slinging and slanging that you're
yes, exactly
flying around. But I did tell Dan that he was in the running for the MVP. Long story short, I said him and Whitman, and he was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, you have like 6 assists right now, Dan." He's like, "I do." So like some of these guys, I mean, they were loose, they were playing. It was a fun weekend though. A lot of talent on the ice.
Jake was trying to get me going a lot in that championship game. Obviously, Gray jumps out to the lead. White comes back. I think they took the lead. Then Gray tied it. And when Gray would tie the game or take the lead, Jake would just nudge me and say, getting nervous, GM, getting nervous, like trying to get me going late. And I thought that game, truthfully, was going to go to overtime because that got late in the third period or second half, I should say. It is technically the third period. We only played 2 halves, but obviously very happy with the way the event went.
Dallaire scored with 26 seconds left.
Oh my goodness!
So Dallaire from Lee and Euler,
pretty cool. But the full top performers or all tournament team, if you will, did include 3 players from Team White: Nicholas Dallaire, Kyle Dan, and Carson Whitman, and then a player apiece from Blue, Gray, and Red: Colin Berkey, Eddie Mulligan, and Jack Weinman. So a fun weekend. Crazy how the 2 EHL All-Star events are already done, right? Like crazy how Thanksgiving is 2 days away. We're dropping this podcast a day early, of course, because this is the quote-unquote Thanksgiving break. Every team does it differently for sure. The Seahawks and Express, of course, are playing for the 3rd time on Thanksgiving. And then they have, I guess you could say, Black Friday off and then play again on Saturday. And then the P teams play on Sunday. So 2 games apiece.
That's really gutsy of the Express and the Seahawks to compete with all the NFL games that's going on Thanksgiving Day. I hope that they can overtake them on ratings on Hockey TV. I think they might have a shot this year with how well the Seahawks have been playing.
Yep.
Jim McCabe will have the call for you at Tony Kent Arena. That's the next great goal call that Jim's going to
right now. So,
God,
go watch Kane Herrera. Go look forward to Jim's next crazy goal call.
It'll probably be about stuffing or something like that, Jeff.
The gobbler.
Something Thanksgiving related. Has to be. But tune in to find out.
Yes, exactly. So, but yeah, crazy. The events have already come and gone. Let's now get to the power rankings because obviously we put those out this morning for the second time this season. And I don't think it's wrong by any means, but 4 of the top 5 come from the North.
Yep. Seacoast. Welcome, Brett. Trotter was talking to
Welcome back.
Oh, welcome back. Sorry. I had another good conversation with him this weekend about that, and he said that he loves how I just default to the read the fine print down below. Now I just weasel red. He's like, you just weasel red out, don't you? And I was like, yep, I do. I'm great. It was a lot of stress the last couple of years that the old Ravens rankings that we used to get voted with you, Neil, were real stressful. Every week you'd say, all right, guys, who's number 1? And we'd be like, whose dartboard are we going on now? All right, who's 2? Who's 3? Who's on the bubble looking in? Nope.
Hey, come on, Jeff. Be nice to head coach Brett Trider.
I love Brett.
He's on a hockey jersey in the NHL. He's on the Islanders fisherman logo.
The Gordon's fisherman.
And his Spartans team is doing pretty well, so that also deserves some respect. I think.
I love to have Drew Oliveri on my Blue All-Stars. He was phenomenal.
He was great.
There.
And all 4 North coaches were there for a day apiece this weekend. And whenever the North coaches were near each other, they were making their pitch to me about how the North should get 2 bids to Providence. And then you just figure out which one of the other divisions doesn't get a bid. Well, hold on. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, look at
we get 2, they get none, they get 1, they get 1. Cool.
Yeah,
right?
you just say like it's just because of the division's so strong. Like, okay, well, it doesn't quite work like that, but good luck to all of you when the playoffs come around. That's all I can say.
Win your games. Win out.
Win and you're in, like they always say, right, Jeff?
Yep. Lose and you snooze. Go home. Go to sleep. See you next year.
But heading into the Thanksgiving break,
that's what Blue Boys are doing.
Avalanche to the top with 33 points. Wolves right behind them by a point at 32. Lumberjacks right behind them by 2 points at 30. And then 2 points behind the Lumberjacks are the Spartans with 28, but they've also played the fewest number of games in the division with 19, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see how this division continues to unfold, obviously. I mean, if you go over to the streaks column, Jeff, this standings page, you could spend half a day here just kind of like clicking around and finding new stuff.
That's why I do every showcase, baby. I go through and I just rip through every team. Who's done what lately, early in the season, mid-season. I always do that.
And I know we don't love to do math in the podcast, but can we add up that streaks column just in that division?
Oh, yeah. Friggin'
23 or 22, 0-1.
0-1.
All like the North Division, like
no regulation losses for them.
They've earned this, right? They've earned it where they are with all 4 teams in. And every race is going to be compelling here down the stretch. And I just bring up how we're going to go through each division here because we have this episode of the podcast, which we aren't going to have one next week because of how quiet things are. But the following week, our podcast will come out on the 8th. And that's the last one before winter break because you can't have one on the 15th when in the middle of the showcase. So this podcast, next podcast, the one after that, mid-season, Frozen Finals predictions.
Oh,
so we're all good. Yeah, Jeff, that's actually, I'd probably say that's probably your least favorite episode in the history of the podcast.
Because it's stressful.
So we each have to pick who's going to win this division.
Yeah, my point exactly.
Like
this year's going to suck even more than the last year's sucked.
Well, we'll do a cop out for each other. We'll at least.
I mean, every division is.
We're going to make sure at least Tyler or Jake is on, and we're going to do a total cop out, and all 4 of us will each pick one team apiece. Total cop out.
I mean, put me back in the
No,
blender,
I say give them bulletin board material. Yeah. What are you talking about, Neil?
I enjoy it. It's painful, but I enjoy it.
I will cop out.
It's like what I said last season. We shouldn't care what the coaches think about our predictions.
Dude, we're all sports fans. We're all diehard sports fans. We're all masochists. We all like love the game. We hate the game. I was in pain this weekend with my 0-2 1-1 record. But I'm already looking and scouting for next year's Blue All-Stars. I was already looking. I'm like, who's aging out? Who am I not taking next year? Who could be a possibility? All right, no, you did something good. Mark down. Oh, you didn't know. I told all the coaches that real quick this weekend too. I was like, I don't know how you guys do this. I would be the most emotional. I'm an emotional fan. I would be a very emotional coach. If guys had one bad period, I'd go in and say, "You're all fired," and bring in new guys. You're hired. It's the toughest. It's the toughest job in the biz. It is.
This is a ruthless side of Jeff that we have not seen before, Anthony.
Yeah. Yep.
Other awesome feature with the new stats package, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
I can plug in exactly how our tiebreakers work.
Oh,
and it recognizes it.
And there's no questions that need to be asked, but you'll still get the questions.
Well, no, past systems that will not be named just go based off of wins, right? Yeah. But if you go to the Central right now, technically the Railers have more wins than the Chiefs.
Yeah, how are the Chiefs over? Tell us that.
Because they've played one matchup, and the Chiefs won that matchup. The Chiefs own the head-to-head tiebreaker right now, as of today, over the Railers. They will play again, obviously.
So the head-to-head matchup between the two teams have more weight than total amount of wins. Then
total wins is the second tiebreaker.
That's the second tiebreaker. Okay.
Yeah. So it's head-to-head
points.
It's head-to-head points.
So points for everyone keeping track at home. Points. Head-to-head matchup. Total wins. Right.
No.
Total points.
You got just combine the first two together. Head-to-head points.
Head-to-head points. Got it.
Then total wins. Then there's goal differential, and then never, ever, ever should we ever get as far as coin toss. But anyways.
Oh, imagine that.
I mean, if you get that far, like, all right, like go play. You know what? Go play again one more time. Just go play again, like the MLB does at times, right? The MLB used to, at least, if the two teams were tied after 162, they play another one.
Yeah, one game playoff
to get it. So, but every one of these divisions is really interesting. I know I just mentioned the Central there. Chiefs, I'm sure they're excited that the break has come. Actually, if you want to look at the streaks column, guys, not a shot at the Central, but it's kind of the opposite of the North Division. I'm sure they're all excited that the break has come here.
3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 13 regulation losses, 1 shootout loss, 1 overtime
the other
loss,
thing
no
too,
wins.
with the 23 games without a regulation loss, that just shows that the North Division teams haven't really faced each other all that often.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, who was it that we just talked to? Said that they haven't played when we were hanging out the other night. The Spartans haven't played the Avalanche.
Correct.
That's insane. So
get
used to each other.
Did you hear why they haven't played each other yet this season?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember it.
Well, we have to just be prepared if there's a COVID outbreak, because then you get all the not out of state games done.
Oh, that's right. That's it. We'll just be playing you all season. So
can we just not talk about another potential COVID outbreak? I mean, knock on wood. I hope we're past that at this point.
Woof.
Get your vaccinations, people.
Coach Heffernan was awesome though for my Blue Boys. Thank you, Coach Heff. While we're talking about the Central, and he actually said that when I walked into the building with him the first morning. Said, "Hey, Coach Heffernan. Good morning. Hey, Jefferson. How you doing?" I was like, Central's interesting because, us and the Railways, we both don't want first place. We we lost some games. We gave it to the Railers, then the Railers went on a streak. Now they've lost a few, and now, we're just like, oh, you want it? You want it? So then you got the Apple Core right there. I mean, everybody's like right there. Me and Tyler talked a lot about Max Benoon this weekend. He was really good in the All-Star Classic. Hoping he can carry that into the second half of the season for the Apple Core. So... yeah, it's a
interesting division. I mean, the East Division, before we talk about, all those matchups, let's congratulate Nick Coda. Got married.
Get married.
Yes.
Well,
so
congratulations, Coach.
Congratulations, Coach. By the way, your team has now played the fewest number of games in the entire league at 17. So
wifey, I'll see you when I see you.
Awesome, by the way.
See you in the offseason.
The game day graphic.
Oh my God! Yes, Justin did so well with that.
He's a wizard.
Not an East Coast.
No,
Wizard.
no,
not
Jeff,
I
no,
was thinking
Wizards
that too.
Express.
I
He's
meant he is
a graphic wizard.
No, I
Put
know.
them in the same division with that. That's just not cool. He is a graphics machine wizard.
Oh my god. Oh my god. And then as we've said also, I mean, if we're referring to the North as the toughest, then second toughest all season long has been the South. And Anthony, the fun bet that we were kind of joking with as well with all the coaches is, what would it be like to predict obviously who wins each division, but at the same time, who falls into these play-in games in each division, right? Like, the North is lucky they don't have one, right? I guess you could say 1, 4, 2, 3, boom, we're in. East, Central, and South, there's a 4 or 5 matchup in each one for the chance to play the number 1 seed, right? So, yes, Terry's way out in front in game count, but he also does kind of have the points lead, even if the teams behind him win all the games that are the difference between their totals right now, right? So, like, not to put you on the spot, Anthony, but like we started talking about the South Division. It's like, who's going to get stuck almost being in that 4-5 matchup? It's going to be really interesting to see, because then you could really make the case with that division that even if you are in that 4-5 matchup, why can you not win that game and then win the next series against the 1 seed?
Well, it's just a testament to how close the South Division is. So even if a team, let's say like Pro Tech or the 87s, if they fall from the top half of the South Division down to that 4-5 matchup, they could easily win that playing game and still move on to win the South Division.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not sure if I know. Well, I won't know until it actually happens. I feel like I can't really get a good read on the South just yet because it's still early. I think a lot of these teams will still make some roster decisions. You look at some of the teams where maybe this team could use a defender, maybe this team could use a high-scoring forward. So we still might see a bit more movement, especially after the Thanksgiving break, because I feel like that's when a lot of those moves tend to happen.
Yep.
I'm already starting to see it, Anthony, in some other leagues and stuff, and you're right. Because like me and Tyler talked about it this weekend, that certain guys at this point in the season of every junior hockey league, doesn't matter where, if you're not in the EHL or like wherever you are now seeing like, all right, ooh, I thought I was a top 6 guy. Now I'm getting bottom 6 minutes. Or, I thought I was a top goalie. Now I'm only starting once a week. So I'm going to probably have to go somewhere else. And I actually mentioned your New Jersey 87s as a team I remember last year when they brought Anastasio and Winslow in, guys that weren't too happy with Twin City. And then they came over here and they found a home and helped you guys get all the way to the championship and were huge X factors. They came in, I think it was at the Newington Showcase, wasn't it? Wasn't that when they started?
Yeah, well,
it was around then.
Well, they came in around this time last season. I'd say a little bit earlier November, because they were both there for the very end of the losing streak. And then their first win, I think, was against the Connecticut Chiefs. That was right before Thanksgiving. Gotcha. That was when they started the winning streak, where they beat the Connecticut Chiefs.
Gotcha. So like similar type of time, but I think there's still definitely guys that aren't even on these rosters yet that are gonna make a difference. It's always the case, I feel like.
The other thing too, I think especially with a couple of junior leagues, I know that some coaches, I think they try to give a fair shake for most of the guys, where they try to rotate them or in and out of the lineup, make sure that a lot of players get enough reps. And then I think once you get to this point in the season, I think that's when it's like, okay, who's going to be the guys that will help me win games? And I think from that point, that's when you start seeing the rosters solidify a bit. And I think that's when, like you said, Jeff, if someone finds out that they might not be that top 6 forward, where we might see some more movement.
Yep.
For sure. And then flipping over to the EHLP, I don't know what we want to call it, but I think maybe it's this. Maybe at the end of the season, no matter what, we're going to call Adirondack the EHLP's most compelling team. Like every weekend, I'm just excited to look and see what they did. And it's like, oh, they're playing Vermont. Probably will go to overtime. Nope, 5-1 win. Whoa. Like, okay. I know they dropped the second game, so they split that series. But, I mean, look at that division first, right? Vermont's kind of been cruising along all season long, 15-5. Funny how almost half of their losses are to the Railers. I think the Railers have beat them 2 or 3 times actually. Avalanche picked up a big win today over those Railers. The Wolves have quietly kind of played, to a 10-win season so far. Like that division,
6-3 win over the Avs.
Yeah. That division's crazy. The Boston division is pretty top heavy as well. I mean, look at the Railers up top are now 15 wins. Rangers, of course, the defending EHLP champions with 14. Valley, I think, quietly has gone all the way up to number 4 in the power rankings. Seahawks, one of the best names in the league. We talked about on this podcast. Atticus Bean has led them well. So, and then the last division, Anthony, I know the 87's got some revenge over the Huntsmen this weekend. So, along with the EHL,
very emphatically,
yes, and along with the EHL picks, we'll be making EHLP picks as well in 3 episodes for our predictions for the finals.
And those 87s are streaking pretty well too. 7-0, 2-1 in their last 10.
Yeah,
it says
shout out to Coach Connell and the bunch.
8-0-3. I lumped the overtime and shootout wins together, so I just say 8-0-3 because usually counts all the same.
Yeah, I like displaying both just because I think there's a difference. There's no difference in points. I just think I like shootouts, right? We could spend a whole nother episode 2 hours long about shootouts. Sometimes they bore me, sometimes they don't. I'm not sure how you guys feel. It's like, I feel like when the shootout starts, it's like, are we going to be in for one of those 7-round shootouts where like nobody can score and then all of a sudden you're kind of just hoping somebody finally scores? Or are you going to see an awesome move from the beginning?
I guess it depends team to team, honestly.
I just hate when people call it a gimmick or a skills competition. I think it's more so just hockey, like boiled down to the very bare bones, shooter versus goalie.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's almost like a breakaway. You're not going to call breakaways a skills competition.
Everyone loves a breakaway. That's a really good analogy, actually. Shootouts, some people don't like you were just saying.
Because that's the name of the game. A breakaway. You have to put the puck in the net, and if you can't do it with 5 defenders or 3 defenders, then just distill it to its very bare bones and just have the shooter and the goalie. I mean, it's good enough for soccer with their penalty kicks.
Maybe the breakaway is different because you're not expecting it to. The shootout, it's built up, right? The guys.
Then my counter is let somebody chase them. That will get more exciting.
A one-on-one, like
sort of like a time limit.
Forward?
No, like the shooter starts at the red line.
And you get D-man starts at center ice or inside the offensive zone?
You pick up the puck at center ice dot. The chaser is behind you at the blue line.
Oh.
So then all these moves where they take it wide and they're just like
slowly
going in. The one Johansson the other night when the controller dies and they just stop moving and then all of a sudden they shift around and it goes in. But
Zuccarello is known for doing that a lot too.
Someone chase you now.
Yeah,
that would get really exciting.
That would be interesting.
Before we get back on topic, if there's one rule change I would love to see, take away the blue lines. People always talk about expanding the rink. The best way to expand it without actually expanding the dimensions, just take away the blue lines. Instead of having 10 players cramped in 1/3 of the ice, have them more spread out. Give them the entire half.
Wow.
We already got rid of 2-line pass years ago.
That is a bold idea.
Does that mean we get rid of our faithful linesmen? No. Get rid of the blue lines? Do you need linesmen
for something?
Uh-oh.
Well, the linesman would just stay on the red line all day long. Didn't cross the line. Didn't cross the line. Didn't cross the line. Oh, cross the line.
Yep. Exactly. We're getting real deep this week.
Yeah, we're off the rails.
We're picking apart the game of hockey and redoing it.
Neil, I'm just saying, you have a chance to implement all these things. I'm sure you have to talk with Joe Britannia, the board of directors.
It has to go to the board of governors meeting.
The EHL can go down as a revolutionary league.
We're not USA Hockey sanctioned anymore. I mean, we can push the bar a little bit.
We have a huge owners meeting coming up. We meet twice in person, but the one on December 9th, maybe I go in and say, hey, top of the agenda, guys, let's get rid of the blue lines.
Get rid of offsides.
Like, what?
I think the entire room would go immediately quiet and say, please explain.
Blue line's gone. Sticks optional. Your thoughts. What? Players now play with goalie sticks. Goalies have player sticks.
Oh. It's like in soccer, Jeff, and all of a sudden the goalie's in the box trying to get a header at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could get interesting.
We're on to
Could
something.
get really interesting.
Or are we just losing it?
Yeah, I think we're just losing it. I think that break that everyone else is going on, we're going to go on it too. So
or introduce relegation. So if a team finishes in last place, sorry, back to the EHLP.
Man. But what if you finish in first in the EHLP?
Then you go up to the EHL.
What if you have 2 EHL now?
Then you have 2 EHL teams.
Then you go to the NHL. You just skip everything. Skip college, skip any other further advancement. To the NHL you go.
We're going to title this episode Ideas.
Brainstorming.
Or
turkey storming.
Yes. Let's you ready for fantasy?
I am. Anthony, okay. You ready for it? Neil, you are. I don't know if Anthony is. Or Tyler or Jake.
Let's jump to fantasy.
It's time for the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge.
The E-Crew Fantasy Challenge is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code ESHOW, that's ESHOW, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
I still don't know what to do for the All-Star Classic points because last year you got points based off where your team finished. And this year we had 4 teams, but obviously Jeff and I are one side, Anthony and Jake are the other side. And it finished, I guess you could say, OG, HNIB, OG, HNIB. So maybe we tied anyways.
Oh, no, I finished dead last, bud. So actually we had first and last.
Oh, so maybe they did gain a point. I had to think about that. Like,
right. I finished dead last, you won it. And then Tyler and Anthony both finished second and third.
You got to figure out what we want to do for those points.
Or Jake and Anthony. Whoops.
Definitely didn't get 150 to tie us. But anyways, their points this past week, I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but they put up 31.2 points. Again, that is a good week. It is a good week.
At one time it was.
Yes. It includes 7 fantasy points from Hunter Atkinson, a pair from Luke Morissette, 10 fantasy points from David Dell. He had a goal and 2 assists, as that was the Pro Tech game when they came storming back to beat Philly Hockey Club on home ice. They split that home and home series. And then a shutout victory for Nicholas Hansen. That was a 12.2 fantasy point performance. So those 31.2 points is a good week. But I do need to read off what Jeff and I did this week. What was that noise?
I don't know. I just can't believe the lead we've built up. And I love Anthony and Tyler and Jake, but
yes, I would agree.
It's fantasy challenge, is it?
Edward Solier got us 3 points. Patrick Demarinis, Anthony watched him score a pair of goals, including a game-winning goal.
Bittersweet.
Ethan Byrne with a goal, 2 assists, 2 power play points, a game winner. Eddie Mulligan, a goal and 2 assists. And when Team HNIB took the early lead with that Nicholas Hansen shutout, Aiden Healy was like, oh, yeah, you want to be the first team to pick an EHLP goalie? I got you guys. And he got us a shutout as well, Jeff.
Yes.
Only difference was 1 save.
Done, Aiden.
Aiden had 30 saves to Hansen's 31. So we finished with 40 points this week. But again, it was a good week for Team HNIB. And hey, maybe this double week, if you will.
It, Neil.
Maybe this double week, because these next fantasy picks are going to go from the 24th, November 24th to December 7th. Maybe this double week is the spark that they need. So who you got this double week, Anthony?
Okay, well, I mean, again, this just further proves why I should never be in any management position whatsoever.
buddy.
I'm going to start off with the MVP of the All-Star competition, Kyle Steely Dan.
There you go.
He has 20 points in
that.
15 games. He's coming off, or he has 8 points in his last 3 games. He does have a 4-game goal drought. He's been getting a lot of apples lately, but who knows? Maybe over the next 2 weeks, he can fill the back of the net and get some points there. Also, at forward, I'm going to go with... we recently picked a pretty hot forward for the Seahawks, Cade Herrera. He has like 1 million goals in less than 20 games. I want to go with another forward that's been pretty well recently for the Seahawks, Hans Forselius.
Mm-hmm.
He has 9 points in 15 games, but 7 points in his last 7 games. He's been pretty good for the Seahawks. We'll have him come on down to Team HNIB. And then rounding out the forwards, there's been so much talk about guys like Aiden Hotchkiss, William Prey. How about Heath Mensch? He's been heating up for the Wolves. He's been really good. In 3 out of his last 4 games, he's had 3 points. And in 4 out of his last 5 games, he's had a multi-point game. In his last game against the Express Hockey Club, he had 2 goals plus an assist. If he can keep that going after the Thanksgiving break, then yeah, I think he's going to help Team HNIV get back on track. For defense, what's up, Neil?
I wanted to pick Mensch this week. That's all I was going to
say. On defense, we're going to go with the leading defensive goal scorer in the EHLP, Cam Arakalian. He has 20 points in 16 games. In his last game against the Avalanche, he had a goal and an assist. So I think he'll be very helpful on the blue line. We're also going to go with Corbin Mealy.
I think it's
Mealy. Corbin Mealy,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've heard
All right. This is a recommendation from Jake Basile because I know he's very familiar with his Railers players. He had a goal in his last game against the Seacoast Spartans. Player that looks like he's been putting up points steadily over the course of the season. So I think he can also help out on the blue line for Team HNIB.
He better.
And in goal, who else then? The Cookie Monster, Matt Gover.
That's a Jake Basile pick. He was his Red All-Star first goalie off the board pick.
Rocking a 293 goals against average, 921 save percentage. The Wizards are going to be one of those teams that will be playing pretty often over the next 2 weeks. Figured that Gover will get some starts. And he is our goaltending pick for Team HNIB.
Nice.
As Jake had said, didn't he say that picking Gover put Team Red go over the hill? Was that his line?
Oh my God!
I think that was his line.
That was actually my suggestion to pick over.
Okay.
And then immediately after I typed that, he responded in our HNIB group text and said, "That's a fantastic idea," in all caps.
Love it.
Jeff, before we read off our picks, did you notice the trend? Because I did the selections this week.
Did I notice the trend of this week's picks?
Yes. With the exception of a forward and with the exception of 2 of the forwards.
They all Team White guys?
Woo!
Team White boys? Oh, I mean, I think I did that last year after my Blue Boys rode in hot. I think I took Napoli was my leading scorer last year, 5 goals. Cole Scott was good.
Yeah, this was very, very selfish, but I had to do it.
Let's do it.
So,
you guys were nasty. I'm happy that I'm alongside the ride with you because if we were back to individual world, it would have been a rough day today.
Negative points.
The only team that didn't get a win. No wins. 0. None.
We're picking.
I'm not butthurt. I'm fine.
We're picking Austin Hershberger more than the fact that he was having fun during that shootout, poking his teammate and whatnot. They play 6 times in this 2-week stretch. So, I mean, you kind of have to at least have one Seahawk, right?
Volume.
You have the next one? Forward?
Yes, I have one AJ Lacus from the New England Wolves, 24 points in 22 games. Another smart pick, 3 power play goals on the year. Guy that's been pouring in buckets of points lately, too. I only see 2 games where he hasn't had a point in his last, don't do math on air, but this looks to be about a 10-game stretch or so from mid-October to...
Does he play on the same line as Mensch?
I think, that could be...
He does. Maybe we can both get some points if they have some good chemistry on the ice together.
But from October 10th to November 19th, he's only had 2 games, that series against the Lumberjacks, where he hasn't had points. So, AJ, keep it up for us, will you? Neil, back to you.
Our next forward comes from the EHLP this week, Andrew Blanchard. I mentioned that Adirondack win over Vermont. That was the
because I mentioned him last week that you picked him.
more the fact that I saw the win in Vermont 5-1. He had 4 of the goals and an assist, so he literally played a role in all 5 goals.
Well, I had said the cue it back last week's episode. I said I liked him before his 5-point effort, so just throwing that into the ether.
You know what I should have done, Jeff? I should have dropped in my Kyle Dan audio for the proof.
There you go. See, that's why we record these. They're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Play Store, wherever the heck you want to go. It's a mouthful. Founder FM. Just go to easternhockeyleague.org. Pick the platform you're choosing.
Which D do you want to take? Because the next 3 from here are all white guys. Players from Team White. They know what I'm trying to say. They know what I'm trying to say. It's players from Team White. Jeff can't contain himself right now.
Because I was calling you guys the hashtag white boys all weekend for my blue boys.
And Strider was calling us the Dallas Cowboys all weekend.
Yes, he was.
That's what he thought that the jerseys looked like. So
yes, he did.
The next 3 players all from Team White.
Nicholas Dallaire from the East Coast Wizards. Look at the long locks on his head. Beautiful man. Beautiful, beautiful man. 8 points in 13 games for Dallaire. He was great. He was part of our All-Star Classic top performers. So come on down, one Nicholas Dallaire. Next, Neil.
Do you want to tell the people on air what you said when Isaiah McKinney came up to get his shirt afterwards?
Yeah, I'm jealous of your arms, Isaiah. I love the gym. I go to the gym a lot. No, I've put on some good size the last bunch of years, but I saw him in a polo and I was like, this kid's got thickness, but he's got the vascular, like the veins.
Yes.
I get the thickness, but I can't get those veins. Like the combo is hard. Isaiah, dude, you're big.
So
kid,
a revelation on the 87's blue line.
He's 6'4", 216, but he looks bigger than that in street clothes. His dad's a big dude too. His dad looks like he played football. I know he's from California. I saw the 49ers sweatshirt.
You were assuming.
No, his dad looks really familiar. Like his face, I've seen him at a couple of different events. I remember when Isaiah was on the Apple Corps. But yeah, Isaiah McKinney, scary man.
I think when I talked to Maddie afterwards, Kieran from the 87s, he called him a specimen because of just how shredded he is. But it was so funny when he walked up. Jeff was like,
he's smart
look at
too.
this guy's. Well, for sure. I just thought it was funny.
He can make some good plays from the blue line, and he's also been quarterbacking the power play too, which is good to see.
Yeah, it was just in the moment when they're all coming out, and Jeff's like, "Oh my god, look at this guy's arms!" And I'm like, "Oh my god, Jeff."
He said that in the polos. Like, hey, what's up? I was like, I know. All right, Isaiah, cool. There's your shirt. All right, don't beat me up.
Don't beat me up.
Don't crush me with those arms, big man. Don't crush me.
And then to wrap things up with Team White, Max Benoon. We were kind of torn because I think both him and Welch played phenomenal and could have been on the all-tournament team, but Berkey was that good also for Team Blue. So
thank you, Berks.
We wanted every team to feel some love too, but they earned it at the same time. So I know Benoon has a 2-game series against Philly Hockey Club, a team that he has a shutout against this season.
Uh-oh.
So then again, just to read off the point totals, Anthony, we have to do this every week. The grand total that we're at for Team OG right now is 455.2, and Team HNIB is at 289. But we have back-to-back double weeks here, so I think that could be a good spark. 166.2 is Jeff's math. But I think that could be a good spark because I think the players that get picked from Team HNIB will not feel the immediate pressure that they have to perform right away. They can say, hey, you know what? We have a few games
2 weeks.
Here. They have Hans Forselius, another Seahawk like we have. Hans, if it doesn't work out in the first game, he can say, you know what? I got 5 more games left.
Oh, actually, you didn't take anyone from my Blue Boys, right? Because they all called me out in the locker room. They're like, Jefferson, we better see us all on the fantasy map coming soon after this game. And I was like, well, as your general manager, we got no wins, boys. So I don't know. I think we're gonna have to wait a week. All right.
Next fantasy picks, Jeff. The ones that are for the week leading up to the showcase, and then the showcase. You can pick all players from your hashtag Blue Boys. As you like to say.
I'm gonna. I don't know. I don't know if they deserve it. Still upset. Still bitter. I'll get some of them in though.
At one point, Jeff was putting his eye drops in.
Oh yeah, dude, the rink was so cold. It was drying. My pupils were just like stuck to each other by the end of that. Holy smokes!
It looked like he was like hysterically crying. So he was like, "Should I go in the blue locker room and say this is what you did to me?"
We're the only team that didn't win a game, boys. The only team.
It was pretty entertaining. But that does it for fantasy this week. As I mentioned, it's a double week pick. Then we'll do it again because it's just kind of how things fall in the calendar. We actually do this every year, looking back on the podcast. It's just the way that things kind of lay out with Thanksgiving, and then you come back, and as quickly as September, October, and November have gone by, the month of December is legit like the snap of a finger. Because we get back from break, teams rip off a few games.
3 weeks.
All of a sudden, we're in the Newington showcase. You get 3 games there, and then guys are gone for winter break, and just like that, it's 2023. So
it's 3 quick, like sprinting weeks. The 1st to like the 21st, and then you go away.
Exactly.
It's weird.
In a month from now, December 22nd, that 166 number, Jeff, it will be smaller. It will be smaller.
So.
Yes.
I hope.
I hope for you guys.
That's not what to watch for, but let's get into what to watch for now.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
What to watch for is presented by Hockey TV, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action throughout the 2022-2023 season.
Is it just the Thanksgiving game? Is that what you're watching for the most, or I can lead off? I can lead off. I called them.
You got 3 to choose from now until next week.
But I called them the most compelling team. Tuesday, November 29th, Adirondack at the Avalanche.
Oh, you going P? Oh,
yes. I think Adirondack. Every time I
phrasing, Jeff.
I want to just see them in overtime because they play so many overtime games.
I said phrasing.
Oh, you going P?
Yes.
Oops. Didn't think of that. Anthony, get your head out of the gutter.
Even as grown men, we still have that sort of sense of humor.
Right. How about PA Huntsman versus Philadelphia Little Flyers?
Oh, are we all going? EHLP, Anthony?
I guess. I mean, right after Thanksgiving, December is also right around the corner.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, the Seahawks and Lumberjacks have a back-to-back over at Tony Kent. That should be a good matchup.
In the P or the E?
In the P? It's in both.
Oh, it's in the... Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course, because Vermont. That would make sense. They travel both their teams.
Pick an EHL matchup too, Jeff. Because we got a bunch. I mean, like I said, there's not that many games between now and when we would record and post the next podcast. But then, once you get to December 1st, which is the next Thursday, like there's a lot of action that takes place that following weekend. That's when everyone gets back on the ice. So, I mean,
I see a couple of 87s Ducks, 2 teams that don't like each other in the South Division. That could be fun. Spartans Rangers, a good one. Rangers top the East. Spartans, have they played? Oh yeah, they have played, I think, already. So that could be a good one. Seahawks Lumberjacks, I like. Let's see what else we got here. Rangers Railers on Tuesday the 6th. Yeah, there's no shortage of good matchups. There's nothing funny about that, Commish.
Well, I'm sticking with Apple Core Philly Hockey Club and Adirondack Avalanche. EHL, then EHLP.
I'll go PA Huntsman, Little Flyers in the P. Premier, that is, Anthony Paulo. And then we'll do 87's Protect Junior Ducks in the EHL. So that way there, Anthony doesn't have to pick it because he's going to be calling it, right? Or is that him? Is that at Protect? Or is that at Jersey Shore? That is at Jersey Shore.
It's at Menin.
Oh, it's at Menin. Where are they playing now?
The second, because it's going to be back-to-back for the 87s.
Where's Menin Sports Arena? What part of Jersey
Morristown, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I know the Metropolitan Riveters of the PHF played there for a little bit before going to Great American Dream, but the American Dream Mall. The following day, they're going to play against Team Maryland, again at Jersey Shore Arena. That was the last EHL match that I called, and I actually brought on Team Maryland's play-by-play announcer, Mike Nistico. Chris Russo and I do a pregame show usually on Instagram Live. We call it the Buff and Blue pregame show.
That's right.
We brought in Mike for that. And then after the first and second periods, Chris would run his mic over, the wireless mic, and he would give it to Mike for the intermission reports. And we turn the camera to ourselves and we just talk a little bit about each period. So,
and Buff is
we'll have him on again.
Is Buff the tannish color, Anthony?
Yes.
In the 87's jersey? Got it. Because I actually, when I was doing an 87 showcase game recently, and I was telling people left to right and I was like, 87's in.
There's so much history. There's so much history and references to the state of New Jersey with the team. I tell people all the time, the 87s are named after the fact that New Jersey ratified the Constitution in 1787. Their main logo has 3 stars above the shield. That's because they were the 3rd state to be admitted into the Union. And the colors are the state flag.
We're learning all sorts of stuff on Anthony this week, on and off.
Jeff, we just consumed like so much knowledge in this episode that we need a week off.
I love it. Now, next time I do an 87 showcase game, I got that to share. So thank you, Anthony.
Yeah.
Interesting. I would have called it more like gold than tan, I guess.
But it's a different, it's buff.
And blue.
Isaiah McKinney's buff and buff, baby.
Yes, exactly.
So as okay, thanks everyone. Good night.
There is the third.
Cue the outro.
There is the third Thanksgiving showdown, Express and Seahawks on Thursday. That's why this podcast is dropping a day early. No podcast.
He's gonna say, or he's gonna ask.
Well, because it's Thanksgiving. For any hockey parents that are listening, I say this every year: if you're having dinner and your hockey playing child is having food and they say ew and that it's, freaking gross, I'm warning you right now, it is a compliment. That is hockey slang for something good. Do not be offended. They're complimenting you.
Mom, ew, that's so gross.
Or maybe this is also to the aunts and uncles and grandparents that might not be as familiar with the hockey slang as the parents might be. So again, just a heads up.
Okay. I thought you were going to ask Neil about is Nash Ravin going back to Bowl A or Bowl B?
Oh.
Are we still doing that? Did he skip last year? I was trying to remember.
Yeah, he was so rattled from picking wrong the year before that he just took last year off. We'll bring it back this year.
Bring it back? Yeah. All right, Nash. You're on the clock, buddy.
So like we said, though, no episode next week because of just how quiet things are between now and next Thursday. But then we hit December and this league just takes off until the holiday break. So we know where everyone stands right now heading into Thanksgiving, but we're going to learn a lot over the next month. So happy Thanksgiving to all the E-Show fans at home.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I hope everyone gets a chance to enjoy the holiday, enjoy the game at 11:30, then enjoy the football, Anthony. Then enjoy the turkey. So have a good Thanksgiving, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.